Bravado is a 7-part movie miniseries. It's already completed, and it's inspired by the Grito de Lares revolt of Puerto Rico of 1868. This event was a seminal event in Puerto Rican history because it was the point in time when Puerto Rican identity was coalescing and emerging into its own, distinct from the Spanish mother country. Identity is something that Puerto Ricans have been dealing with ever since, even to this day. I came to this story by doing a little genealogical research about my family, and I have an ancestor who was actually a participant in this, Abdon Bagan. However, what really captured me was another figure, another rebel that had participated. His name is Matthias Brugman. And this was a true-life individual who was a Yankee, an American, who became a participant in the Puerto Rican Rebellion. That really intrigued me. But then on top of it was the fact that this was a mature man of means, a family man, 57 years old, landed, had business interests, big family, and yet he risked all of this for this cause in this land that he wasn't even born in. That was a fascinating and intriguing matter that just needed to be explored more for me. So I wanted to do a little research into this, and I ended up turning to basically the premier authority on Matthias Brugman, Paul M. Burkowski. He's a researcher, lecturer of 19th century Puerto Rican history, and he had done 35 years of extensive research on Brugman. In fact, he even collaborated with Brugman's very own great-grandson, Arturo Brugman Irizarry. And what he was able to mine from the archives was a picture of this brilliant yet complicated, forgotten patriot of Puerto Rico. A person who lived through provocative times, faced daunting challenges, and his life story yields some wonderful storylines. And I had to share this with my friend who ended up co-writing with me, Winston Marcel.
Throughout human history, many forces of tyranny and injustice have plagued humanity. But at each turn, courageous people have risen up to fight against it. You know, I've always been mystified and somewhat in awe of people who have everything to lose, yet in spite of this, possess the bravery and courage to stand up and say, no, this is wrong, this is unjust, and you can't do this to me anymore. You know, I talk to everyday people today who face contemporary forms of injustice, and I ask them, how do you deal with this? How do you fight it? And they usually respond with, hey, look, I got a family, I got a mortgage, I got kids to put through school, I got to worry about my job. And most of them are resigned to accepting the burdens of oppression. Because what it boils down to is that they're very much afraid to lose everything they have. I get that. I get it. And so my co-writer and I were intrigued by the other side of that coin. The people who fight back. Now our script, which is called Bravado, deals with the Puerto Rican uprising of 1868, which was famously known as Grito de Lares. So you have these Puerto Rican colonials. Some were peasants, some were slaves, and there were also many others higher up on the food chain, owning land and small businesses. But they all had families, homes, and children, and they all had everything to lose by challenging the status quo with acts of violent rebellion. So they stood up and they said no. And they took action. They put their own lives and the lives of their families on the line for freedom. I mean, look around the planet today. The world is engulfed by struggles against tyranny and oppression. So our story is as relevant today as it was when it occurred. So, I think we have a magnificent historical tale about very heroic people, and I believe it's a story that cries out to be told.
One of the things that is important to keep in mind is the production values that this project offers. First, it's a television miniseries. We looked at the subject matter, and it was too broad to fit into a feature film structure. So we opted for the television miniseries. Now, this is a trend that's very popular. Band of Brothers, Rebellion, Hatfield and McCoy, Texans Rising, Roots, and John Adams, winner of a record 13 Emmy awards. These are all the antecedents to what we're doing here, and so there is definitely a niche market out there. Additionally, we have another avenue is that the television viewership is largely your 50-plus baby boomers. 45.6% of the adult viewers are over 50, according to Media Dynamics research firm. So this tells you that there is a market for a film which deals with mature characters, like our central figure here. Additionally, this project also capitalizes on the growing and emerging Latino viewership. And yet, at the same time, by telling the story through a non-Latino, through the eyes of the Yankee rebel, we're also remaining very relatable for those that are non-Latino in the audience. Another important factor in production is that the Puerto Rican government offers generous production incentives. 20% tax credits on payments to non-resident talent, 40% tax credits on local resident talent expenditures, and an additional 10% tax credit for projects with stories about Puerto Rico, which is what we have here. A story about Puerto Rico using Puerto Rico as a backdrop. And speaking along that line, we can access government, the government can provide us access to the well-preserved historical sites that are abundant in Puerto Rico, much in the same way that the John Adams miniseries had utilized colonial Williamsburg with great success. So we've spoken about what it is that brought us to this whole topic here, and fascinating stuff, things that really grabbed us, but it motivated us to make this movie, to write this script, because we want to bring this to the audience out there. There's a world out there that we really feel that this is an experience that they'll want to have.
Right, and the script is a very exciting historical piece. You know, it's inspired by true events, and it really captures the spirit of the time. You know, the characters are rich. You know, there are many rich characters. You know, females who are very strong, very determined, slaves who fought in the battle, and then of course we had the Yankee, who was one of the main perpetrators in this rebellion. All fabulous roles. I mean, well, for instance, we have Ramon Betances.
And he is the father of the country.
Right.
And we actually have someone in mind that we loved. We can get him to play this part,
right,
because
exactly.
I mean, he is the personification of this. Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits
Got the gravitas and the ability to deliver.
And the charisma. Because Betances was a very charismatic man. He was a very great orator. He could bring people together.
He inspired the whole revolution. He marched there to that tune, and so what we've done is tapped what was there in history. That's why this script, this story grabbed us so much that we wanted to write this script.
You know, it's a story about passion. It's a story about freedom, and it's a story about the Puerto Rican people.
Absolutely, and it's a story that deserves to be told.